These are the strings that I'm using at the moment. Let's just see what they are. These are DR NMR 45 to 105. These are bass strings. I've used these. They're really great. Nickel plated. I think I'm using these on my bass right now. 9050L. They're Fender stainless steel flat wound strings. 45 to 95. These D'Addario folk nylon strings are what I got for one of my students. They're silver plated wound with black nylon, and they have a ball end. These are classical strings. Here are some silken steel EJ40s, D'Addario. And these are nice for beginners. I really like them. 11 to 47 gauges. It's called a light gauge. Here's a set of strings that I use on my electric guitar, 10 to 46. These are called 10s, EXL 110s. Got a bunch of these from a friend who was closing his guitar shop one time, and so I think I bought like 25 sets from him. These are what I normally use on my acoustic guitar, one of my acoustic guitars. I'll show it to you in a minute. EJ26 11s, they're called Custom Lights, D'Addario. Wait, did I show you these? These are the other strings that I use for my electric guitar. These are 9s, EXL 120s, 10P it says. Super light gauge. Here are the strings that I use for my nylon string guitar, D'Addario Pro Arte. These are EJ45s, and they're normal tension. Right now I'm using these on my Blue Ridge. These are EJ17s. This is a bulk set. These are 13s, 13 through 56. These are medium gauge strings. And the other set that I use on my Blue Ridge, these are bulk sets too. These are 12s, EJ16s. Bought these not too long ago. Haven't even opened them yet. Let me show you the guitars that I actually use them on. Here's my ukulele. I use an Aquila set with a low G. It says new Nile Gut. So I like the low Gs. I know that Israel Kamakawi wo Ole, Izzy, played on a low G set, but I also know that Jake Shimabukuro uses a high G set. I prefer low G. It's more like the guitar to me. Here's my baby Taylor. I have this one set up for 12s, and I use EJ16s, D'Addario. This one is ready for a new set of strings. It doesn't sound that great. It's a little dull. Here's my Godin fretless, and I'm using the flat wound Fender strings on this particular one. Here's my Blue Ridge BR73. Just did a concert with this last night. This guitar has the EJ17 D'Addario strings, the 13s. I like these strings a lot. I go back and forth between the EJ16 and the EJ17s on this. I don't know, I just can't make up my mind. 13s or the 12s. They're called EJ16s when they're 12s, and they're EJ17s when they're 13s. You know, 13/100ths of an inch on the E string. I have no idea why they number them that way. Oh well, that's what it is. This is my Ibanez Classical, and it's got nylon strings on it, D'Addario Pro Arte, EJ45s. normal tension. I like these. They're great. They sound wonderful. This is my Yamaha 120 SD Telecaster copy or style guitar. I go back and forth between putting 9s and 10s on this. The 10s are the EXL 110s, and the 9s are the EXL 120s. Again, I don't know why they number these this way. It's kind of confusing. But I go back and forth on what kind I want. If I want to do a lot of bending, then I use the 9s, and if I want a more beefy sound, I use the 10s. This is my other guitar. It's an Ibanez GSR 190. It's not an expensive guitar. It's got flat wound strings on it. I think it's the same Fender flat wounds that I showed you before. 9050L. 45, 60, 80, and 95. I like the sound of flat wounds. They just sound really good. I was at a store a friend of mine had, and I asked him, you know, I'd like to get a really good bass. And he goes, well, what kind of bass do you have? And I said, well, I just have this little Ibanez GSR 190. And he goes, bring it in, let me look at it. So he set it up for me, and it plays like a really expensive guitar. It is so smooth, and the neck is so straight, and it just plays so well. I just have never gotten a different bass. I love it. It works really well. It sounds really good. These pickups are stock. You know, someday if I have trouble with it, I'll do some modifications to it, but so far, it works really good for me. One more guitar. The Fender DG3. Not a super expensive guitar, but an adequate guitar. A good kick-around guitar. A good guitar to take camping and things like that. I don't do any recording with this, just playing for fun. I use these right here, the D'Addario EJ26 on this guitar. The guitar doesn't like the heavier sets because the bridge, it just feels more delicate. So I just use a lighter string on this guitar. I've got some bracing in here to protect it, and I also try to keep it humidified so that it sounds really good. All right, there's the guitars and the strings that I use. You have to decide what kind of strings you want. One time, a friend of mine said to me, hey, have you tried these new DR strings? They are great for classical guitars. And I said, sure, I'll try them. So I tried them. And a couple weeks later, I went back to the store and he said, how do you like these strings? I said, I hate them. He said, what? I said, I don't like them at all. I pulled out the guitar and I handed it to him. And he played it and he's like, oh, this guitar sounds terrible with these strings. So I went back to the nylon strings that I had been using, the D'Addario strings, and it sounded better. One thing I've learned over the years is that different strings sound different on different guitars. And I keep going back to D'Addario because they're so consistent. Now, of course, on my bass, I use Fenders or DRs, but just about everything else I use D'Addarios. And I'm not, let me just say right out, I'm not sponsored by D'Addario. They're not paying me to say this. It's just the string that I like. You find out the string that you like and write it in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about it. I'd love to see what you like and why, and what kind of guitar you use. All right, thanks for being here. Good to talk to you. See ya.